Okay, on to another image. Just kind of picking up where I left off. I still have the background eraser tool here. Quick key is E or Shift E to get to it. Again, I'm choosing this middle sampling once um, setting here, discontiguous. And I have 50 tolerance left over from the last one, but just so you understand the way tolerance works, is it's basically selecting like 50% of the color of whatever you're selecting, right? So if I actually select the lighter tones in this background, it might pick up some of this like white. So I'm just going to show you. If I click a lighter area, like this, where it is kind of close to some of the background image here, you can see it picks up too much of that actual dog image. So I am going to do the same thing I did last time, though. I'm going to create a copy of this, create a new layer in between. I'm going to fill that layer with something contrasting, this time black. Black was my background color, so I hit Command Delete to fill that. And then again, I'll just go back to this layer and just show you, if I pick like one of these lighter areas in this background grass, it gets like, a little too, picks up too much of the inner part of this doggy image. So I'm going to lower the tolerance to like 35 and see what that does. And I think that's a little bit better, but I am noticing it's still picking up stuff here like close. So I think the best bet is to just kind of make the tool smaller and not go creep in too much to the actual inside part of this, the dog part of the imagery. So I'm just going to use that tool and just start, and because this is a more complex background, if I just click one color and try to drag around a lot of areas, it's not gonna get the same effect. So it's actually more effective to just click different areas and then start, dragging, close to that area rather than, what we did on the last image, which was to, click that solid white background and just drag as much as we could. Some of the areas like up here where it's like less polluted are easier, and then down here where there's more of this kind of like different stuff going on, it's a little easier. But again, you can see the tool still works very well at kind of isolating these more fine detailed things like hair, fur, and not as clunky as and as great as it is, the quick selection tool, when you're dealing with fine detail stuff, it is not the best, and it doesn't always pick up what you need to pick up. So again, like, this stuff will get really tricky down here. I don't think we really need to get this perfect. I'll just do a little bit just to kind of probably just mask that. But you get the general idea. It's still pretty good. And I can clean up these bits by just clicking on these little puffy bits that are still left there. You can see there's like these hazy bits that are remaining, so I'm just going to kind of click on each one of those, just so I get this kind of clear black channel around this, and then I'll clean that up with either the brush tool or sometimes a lasso tool is real good for cleaning that kind of stuff up. But you can see this takes a little bit longer to select because it is a little more complex background, and every image is different. The more complex the background and the more texture the background, the more you might want to consider like tolerance to kind of pick up more stuff if you need it. That's a little too crazy. And again, you can always hit Command Z with this tool, but because it is destructive technically, you just make sure you hit Command Z if you do something you don't like, because if you do something you don't like, you can't go back to it really without eliminating the last couple steps you did after that too. You can go back in your history, and again, you can set your history, go back a lot of steps. So you could see, like I could actually go back like pretty far, and you can set more history states if you want, but it just takes more memory. But if I go back to this, you could see it'll put some of those puffy bits back in it. But I've clicked a lot with this tool, so it's going to lose a lot the more I go back. So this is pretty good. And then if I want, again, I'll just take my my regular brush tool, and I'll just kind of come in here and clean up other stuff a little bit. Doesn't, again, I'm not going to do it perfectly. And when you're doing your concept work, you should not worry about like those tiny levels of details. If you have some extra little puffiness there or like extra little things sticking out, when you're just doing concepts for phase one, you need to just work as quick as you possibly can, get those concepts out. So the more, high quality concepts you can develop, the better that you'll be. And then if that concept gets picked and you want to fine tune it, or it is going to go into production, then you could spend the time to clean it up a little bit. But for now, spend a couple minutes and it should be that quick. I'm just going to soften up my brush edge again by holding shift and bracket left. And I'm just going to, for the point of this, I don't really care about this grass, or, I'm just going to kind of get rid of all that for now. And again, I'm doing this destructively on this one layer. Another selection tool that we haven't used often is the lasso tool, and that's L is the quick key for that. It looks like this in the menu. And just the regular lasso tool, which again looks like this with just a circle kind of lasso, it's freehand. You can kind of click and drag. But at any point, if you hold down the option key and then let go of your click, then it starts adding straight lines. So I can click, and then I'm still holding option this whole time. While I'm holding option, I'm just clicking these points, and it's allowing me to make this into the diagonal lasso tool, which is another option in here. The polygonal lasso tool here, that's basically anytime you use this, and I'm just going to command you to deselect to show you. I could just start with this tool. If you're less comfortable doing any kind of freehand selection, you can, kind of just click points and click points. But I always kind of use the regular lasso tool because anytime you're using it, you can, I can do these freehand selections, and then I can hold down option if it gets to an area where it's cleaner, and I can just click points. So using them both together, I like having starting with the lasso tool and holding option down. And that's, so I'm selecting just this, here, but what I really want to do is get rid of the outside. So we know to invert a selection is Command Shift I. So I'm going to do that. That selects the background. I'm just going to hit delete. And then I've destructively edited this bit, but as we know, if I still have my original background, Command J, I will make a copy, Command bracket right will move it up, and then I'm going to hold down Command while I click on this destructively edited layer, and then add that as a mask to this. Or I could hide it before I add the mask, and just see what select and mask is going to give me. So I hid that original destructive layer, but I have the selection of it. That's going to create the mask on this layer. And when I hit select the mask, it will preview what that's going to look like. And again, I can go to decontaminate colors and see what that does. It does a pretty good job of getting rid of all that kind of green that was like happening on the edges. But again, remember that is a destructive edit. Or without clicking that, I can mess with the smart radius and bring that up a couple pixels and see what that does. And then I can also use this refine edge tool again and try to clean up some things that way. That actually didn't work so great for this image. And again, each image is different, and you'll find what you feel more comfortable with. This decontaminate colors seem to be the best option again for this. So again, you can see it just kind of cleans up those bits. So I'm going to hit OK. And then this is pretty good isolated image. Again, you can go into this mask and with the brush tool clean up like there's some spare bits, and I'm going to paint in black because I'm hiding that, right? If I was revealing something, then I would paint in white. But I'm going to keep the black brush in the mask and just clean up some of these bits. Command Z there. And then that's, a pretty good job. You can clean it up as much as you want, but like I said, if you're just dealing with phase one, you shouldn't really spend too much time on it. And then one last step is, I did this all in RGB, but I'm going to convert it to CMYK now. I don't want to flatten it. I want to maintain all these layers. And actually, you know what? I'll convert that back, because to use this next adjustment I'm going to show you, you don't even need to be in CMYK. You can do it in RGB. So if you're creating a web image or something like that, you can still do it. What I'm going to show you is just adding a layer above and how to use this color blend mode. Okay, so I'm just adding a blank layer. I'm changing the blending mode to color, and then I'm going to use my eyedropper, which I is the quick key for that. It's this. So I can sample colors. This tool right here, eyedropper tool. And I'm going to sample like this kind of beigey color that I have going on in the dog over here, and I am going to, with a soft edge brush, and I can make this a little bit bigger, I'm going to just paint over these green areas here, and I'm going to actually make that a little bit bigger, and that gets rid of like all this green stuff going on, and that might be a little like too reddish for you, which is okay. You can always go in and fix that with channel mixers or other adjustments, or you can just default your colors back to white, and then maybe on top of that beige color, I'm going to turn my opacity to like 30% now because I don't want full white. But then you can see when I just click and drag and like some of these spots, it'll lighten up that that reddish color and just kind of make it feel a little bit more natural. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of like a quick way to do, again, these kind of selections. And actually I noticed there's still some green edges kind of out here, so I'm just going to hit those with my white overlay too, and that will kind of clean that up a little bit too. And that's pretty much it. So again, just how to quickly select these kind of complex edged objects, and then how to use non-destructive editing even though you're using technically a destructive tool. And I will do a few more of these just so you get the hang of it on different objects.